Hello everybody, how are you all doing on eventually a sunny Thursday? Honestly, I'm ridiculous at the days of the week and I don't know what I'm at. So I'm going live tonight with Mary from Stellar Health. So I'm just going to wait for Mary to come on and then I can invite her to join me. So I'm just sending her a quick message just to make sure that she knows I'm on. If she's there. Don't know if anybody's on tonight actually. You're probably all out. Oh, there you are. You're probably all out enjoying this gorgeous weather and I don't blame you, but if you can catch up, there's no drama. Right, just waiting for Mary to join. Hi Jean. There you are, yay!
Hi! How's it going?
I never quite trust technology until I see you. I'm like, oh my god, it's not going to work.
Yeah, so that's the worst bit, isn't it? Just watching the minutes before 8 and that kind of awkward waiting it's never fun.
But we're here. So thank you very much for joining me. So I'll just give you a quick introduction for people who don't know Mary. Is a nutritional therapist specializing in gut health. And I'm so interested to talk to you. We could probably talk all night, two Irish ladies, but we'll not.
The Cork women, no?
Exactly, two Cork women, even worse. So we will have a chat and then take it from there. So do you want to tell people briefly what you do before we get going?
Sure. Yeah, so like Sarah said, I'm a nutritional therapist and I help people identify what's at the heart of their gut health issues quickly and effectively so they can find the freedom to love life again. And I work with people really for usually 30 to 90 days because it just gives us, you know, that space and that time to really make changes and turn things around for good. There's no quick fix. So kind of giving yourself that time frame, we like a lot can change then. So
that actually is 30 days isn't that long though. If you can start making a change in 30 days.
Yeah, like so ideally 90 for gut health issues, but certainly in 30 if there's like lifestyle habits, even, you know, we can check in weekly then, and there's so, you know,
I'm pointing to myself because that's what I'm guilty of. Yes, lifestyle habits and just grabbing stuff.
Like we're only human at the end of the day. I think we're all guilty of that, certainly.
Yeah.
Especially during lockdown. I know I've had a few hiccups along the way myself, so it's to be expected.
Well, that's
right?
good. Yeah, well, that's good to hear that you're not always good as well. So I watch your Instagram stories and I'm like, oh, that looks so good. But it's even to know where to start with gut health, I think, and there's a lot of it kind of in the press just now, and then you go to the supermarket and you're seeing, you know, the probiotic drinks and the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, kefir.
Yeah. Kefir. Like, yeah, I don't know. I say kefir, but yeah, there's a lot of like the kind of gut health market. Like it's huge now, and probiotic and prebiotic, those terms come up an awful lot.
Yeah.
Like kefir is great, especially if you make it yourself from scratch, because then you're making it the traditional way. So you're using a culture and you're fermenting it overnight and you've got control of the strength. Whereas if you're buying it in the shop, a lot of them aren't made the traditional way. They just kind of add cultures at the end. So you're missing out the grain, and the grain kind of provides its own gut health benefits. But then, like, depending on how busy you are, it might just be more convenient to buy it, and at least then you're doing something. But yeah, and I suppose the other thing is different brands are different quality as well. So yeah, like if anybody's interested, you can drop me a message and I can recommend what one is better to buy, unless, you know, until you kind of get into the habit of making your own.
Okay. So will I just start? I got quite a few questions. So shall I just start with questions and then we
Go
can
for
take
it. Yeah,
so
brilliant.
On the topic of probiotics, someone has asked, high quality probiotics, what do you recommend? And what I guess I'm going to add to that is the benefit of taking a probiotic.
So the benefits are like they do lots of things. So probiotics are basically good bacteria or friendly bacteria that pass through the digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
They reach the large intestine, and when they're there, they're producing anti-inflammatory byproducts. They are breaking down a lot of fiber. They're making vitamins and absorbing nutrients from our food.
Oh, wow.
And they're keeping us nice and regular. So
Yeah.
in terms of gut motility, they're very helpful.
Okay.
So that's kind of what they do. And then when you're looking for like what one to buy, so I'm talking now about capsule form, so supplement form, you definitely want to make sure that
I'm getting a pen to write this down.
so choose a brand that has some research behind it. So any of the practitioner brands that you'll get in an independent health food store will probably stock practitioner brands, and that just means there's some research behind those ones. We know they reach the gut alive. And you
Could you give us a name?
I could, yeah. So like one that's readily available is OptiVac.
Okay.
You'll get that in most health food stores. And then you kind of want to choose one that has bacteria in the millions to billions. Whereas if you're buying yogurt drinks like Yakult, I'm not a huge fan, just because the bacteria is quite low and there's also some sugar in there.
Yeah.
And then you want to choose one that, like, what's going on with you. So there's ones for, you know, female health and thrush and vaginas. There's ones for the gut. There's ones for mental health. So like, it is worth, if you can, working with a nutritionist or even speaking to the staff in the independent health food stores and kind of get some guidance on which one is best suited for your situation.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Next one, actually, that leads to, I had a question about your gut being linked to your mental health, and someone saying don't say Yakult and a puke emoji.
Yeah, gross. And also the packaging. I hate all those little plastic bottles. It's totally unnecessary. Don't do it.
Yeah, totally. And so first of all, no, I'll stick with the mental health one because this is actually probably a different question. So yeah.
So the mental health, yeah. So basically your gut and your brain are constantly communicating. And an example of that is like when you get butterflies in your stomach, when you feel a bit nervous or anxious.
Yeah.
And like, so it's a two-way communication, and they kind of communicate wirelessly because your gut makes neurotransmitters. So you might have heard of serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So your gut makes that, and then it communicates wirelessly with the brain. And then they also communicate via a nerve called the vagus nerve. So there's lots of crosstalk, but basically by looking after what's going on in the gut, you're going to have a better chance of making these happy hormones, these serotonins, these neurotransmitters. So that communication then is going to be much better, reducing your risk of anxiety and your risk of low mood and depression and things like that.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay. Next question was, is stress one of the worst things for your gut?
Yeah, actually, like stress, that's the thing, you know, when you're stressed, digestion shuts down. Your blood is diverted away from the digestive system, and you are now producing stress hormones. You're not producing lovely digestive enzymes and chewing slowly and feeling relaxed while you enjoy this delicious meal. So that just means then it can go one of two ways. You can have a complete evacuation suddenly, or you can be the other extreme. You might be holding on subconsciously, so then you're going to be constipated. And then the stress actually depletes levels of bacteria in the gut. So long-term stress, that's a very negative result.
It's incredible, isn't it? How like our whole it's just how it can affect everything in your body.
Mad. It's just mad how it's all connected, and also the fact that we're actually more bacteria than we are human cells. Like, that's actually freaking mind-boggling.
What did you say?
Yeah. So yeah, we're all actually more bacteria than human. And like, they kind of like, they weigh a lot. So considering we can't actually see them with the naked eye, there's trillions of them and they weigh about 2 kilos. So they're kind of like an organ in themselves, really.
My goodness. Sorry, I'm just writing something down now. Right, just while I'm thinking, thinking what. Okay. Oh, actually, the next question is what I just wrote down. I was going to keep it for the end, but I guess I could just ask you now. So, it was 3 things you would start to recommend a happy gut. So, I just written down to ask you, kind of, if you were just starting out, what would you recommend? Where would you recommend to start? I guess seeing somebody like you, getting, you know, professional advice. But if you were to just want to start something tomorrow morning, what would your advice be?
Yeah. So if you're generally a healthy person and you just want to make some improvements, I would probably start with the pre and the probiotics. So the probiotics we talked about, they're like the seeds. You're going to sprinkle the seeds in your garden, which is the gut, and then you're going to come along with some watering can and some fertilizer. That's the prebiotic. You're going to sprinkle that on. It's going to help all those bacteria and probiotics to thrive and grow and multiply. So prebiotics are things like asparagus and onions and garlic and leeks, flax seeds, chia seeds. All those foods are classed as prebiotic because they've shown to help these probiotics to multiply and grow.
Okay.
So if you're generally healthy and you tolerate all those things, brilliant. If you're someone who has IBS or excessive bloating or gas, you'd want to go much slower. So definitely check in with the doctor, make sure there's nothing more sinister going on. And once they're happy, then, check in with a nutritionist or myself, and then we can do things in gradual stages. So often it'll start by removing any irritants. So gut irritants could be things that you've identified as trigger foods. A common one is wheat. We might look at, the bacterial balance in the gut. So you can do like stool analysis to look at what types of bacteria are present in the gut and who's dominating and who's lower than optimal. So we're kind of going back to that kind of garden analogy. When you're really stressed or you have a poor diet or you're ill for a long time, then the bad bacteria kind of take over. So we just want to redress that balance. And if we do a stool test, we kind of get a picture of what's going on. What else? Then looking at like simple things like, are you actually chewing your food properly? And I know that sounds really basic, but if we're constantly in a rush, or we're eating at our desk, it's just things that we neglect very easily. So maybe we could work on supporting the enzymes in the saliva, and apple cider vinegar can be quite helpful for that, or bitter foods.
I need to ask you about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, no, keep going.
Okay. So what you're doing then is you're kind of aiding the digestive process in the mouth, because that's where it starts before we even get to the small intestine or the stomach. And then we want to repair. So when most people come to see me, they've done great work at removing stuff. They're like, oh, I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, yeast-free, soy-free, like I've got my food diary, and it's great because if they're in a bad way, I totally get the whole crisis management thing, but removing it, it's not really solving the long-term problem. So while we remove the irritants, we're going to be putting stuff in that's going to help heal the gut and help balance the gut, so that ultimately in about 3 months' time, maybe a bit longer, you can start to reintroduce those things. So repairing things, like there's loads of things we could do. Again, it just depends on the person. So maybe even, I don't know if you've heard of slippery elm or aloe vera, there's certain foods as well that are helpful, and probiotics come into this as well. So I suppose the key thing is if you're the person who's been removing things for months on end and you're still not really much better, then maybe check in with a nutritional therapist, and we'll be working much more on that repairing stage and kind of addressing the balance of the bacteria and inflammation and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Is there enough probiotics and prebiotics in food, or would you always recommend taking a supplement? I can't even talk. Supplement.
Haven't been drinking.
No,
Supplements.
not water.
So in a way, actually, foods are better, but again, it depends on how you're feeling. So if you're quite a healthy person and you don't have IBS or digestive discomfort, eating a fermented food like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, all those fermented things are great, because there's bacteria and yeasts in there that, you know, scientists don't even have names for yet. So you'll get a much broader supply of the good stuff. Whereas in the supplements, we're just kind of getting the common ones that we know have research behind them and we have names for them. So if you're sensitive, I'd probably start with the supplement. If you're quite healthy, I would probably go in with the foods.
Okay.
But ultimately, we want to get you on the foods. That's kind of the end goal.
And can I just ask a question about you? Do you eat wheat and dairy?
I do now. I didn't for a very long time. And I suppose I didn't, like when I kind of got into nutrition, I was kind of dealing with my own health problems, and I suppose I was that person who cut absolutely everything out. Yeah. And now with hindsight and training and experience, I understand that actually that's not a solution. You can't just cut things out forever and hope that things sort themselves out. But now I eat those things certainly in moderation. Kefir I eat daily because it's very, very good for the gut. Yeah. And in terms of reducing risks of certain disease, again, there's lots of research on it, but it's not for everybody. So yeah, you just have to tailor it.
I love wheat and dairy. God, I'm just eating tiger bread and loads of butter before I came on the phone to you. And I'm like, oh God, this is so bad. I'm about to talk to a nutritionist, but it's so yummy.
Well, do you know, it's interesting because the whole butter thing is changing. If it's like butter actually contains butyrate, which actually protects the colon cells. So if you tolerate dairy, that can be helpful for some people. But again, you know, if you had a dairy intolerance or an allergy, then that would use something else.
Yeah. So you really do, if you want to do this really seriously and you're having problems with your stomach, you need to really do it with a professional who knows what they're talking about, right? Rather than doing all this hit and miss stuff. Yeah.
It definitely removes a lot of the guesswork, that's for sure.
Okay. Right.
And it'll save you money in the long run, honestly, because the amount of people that come and say, I've tried this supplement, that supplement, this, like a whole list of supplements that aren't necessarily right for them. And that all adds up. Like,
no, totally. It's kind of like shopping for clothes. You can keep buying loads of cheap stuff that you're going to get, like, wear a couple of times, it's going to fall apart, or you can invest and buy something really nice and wear it a million times.
Exactly.
But it's your body and you only get one of them, so you kind of got to take care of it. Apple cider vinegar you mentioned there, what's the benefit of taking apple cider vinegar?
So if you use it, like if you have it before you eat, so about 20 minutes to 30 minutes before a main meal, you basically start to stimulate saliva and digestive enzymes in the saliva. So you're just getting the body ready for food, and it's kind of signaling to your body that I'm about to eat, so get ready, make the stomach nice and acidic, please, and produce some enzymes, and it just helps with digestion. It's a really gentle way of doing that.
I'm waving at people as they say hello, by the way, Sarah, in case you think I'm gone a bit mad. I past, this might sound really daft, but I started taking like a shot of apple cider vinegar in water every morning because one of my friends was doing this 30-day sugar-free diet. And she said that the girl she was doing it with a professional, and she was saying you should take it before food, take it in the morning, and it makes your stomach alkaline. And I was like, okay, I'll start doing that then.
Why not?
Don't actually know what this is doing, but it sounds good. So I am one of those people who actually just, yeah, should really talk to someone like you, and so I know what I'm doing it for. So that's good to know that it, that it's good. Right, next question. Can good, and this is actually a really good one just now, can good gut health help with your immune system?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
So in your gut, you have what's called gut-associated lymphoid tissue, immune cells. So a huge chunk of your immune system resides in the gut, about 70%. So anything again that looks after your gut, like those probiotics or the fermented foods, the prebiotics, they're all going to be supporting that immune system. And the other thing is, I don't know if you or any of the listeners have heard of leaky gut or gut dysbiosis. So again, using things like probiotics and all those things help with that kind of repair stage that we talked about, and all of that supports the immune system, because lining the gut wall you have this mucus layer, which is like snot basically, and the snot is there to trap any bacteria that we ingest or viruses we come in contact with. And as we age, or if we party too much, or we have too much alcohol, too much sugar, like in time, that snot and mucus barrier can break down and deteriorate. So that then, has a knock-on effect on how our gut immune system responds. So again, all the things we talked about, like the probiotics, foods, prebiotics, help protect that barrier. And
Okay. That's brilliant. It's so amazing. How about kids? Would you recommend that they take pro and prebiotics? I'm just thinking about their immune systems going back to school.
Like there's no harm. And you can get children's probiotics. And again, it depends. Like some kids, if they've been very unwell, especially at the start of life, they may have had multiple rounds of antibiotics, which really, definitely can be life-saving, of course, but the knock-on effect is it depletes the good bacteria, and it can take a good 12 months for that to recover. So if the child has maybe had medication or antibiotics, then probiotics would be well worth doing to kind of put things back in balance. And certainly if you can get them to eat the fermented foods, that would be amazing.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Would you get kefir into your kids?
If it was laced with something, maybe. That's when the flavoured yogurt comes in quite handy. Could you add it to things like yogurt?
Do you know, like some kids, you could just blend strawberries into it. And make it a smoothie. That might work.
I gave my youngest some probiotics after she had antibiotics about 6 months ago, and I was just adding them to yogurts or smoothies or whatever. There was no showing her what I was doing. It was like the corner ripping open the pouring the powder in.
Brilliant. Well, that's good as well. Like you can open the capsules, so they're really flexible. You can just drizzle them in wherever.
Right, I'm just going back to this another question here now. Sorry. Please, can you give advice to this lady's daughter? She is 25 and suffers from excessive burping. She doesn't drink fizzy juice. She's vegetarian, but she can burp every day, not stop for an hour. It's very painful, and usually after eating.
Okay. So again, going back to the absolute basics, making sure that when she is eating, she's nice and relaxed, she's resting and digesting, she's chewing, she's not like taking in big gulps of air in between each mouth, and trying, if she's drinking water, try and have the water between meals instead of with the meal.
Oh, okay.
But if she's already quite relaxed and she's like, no, that's not it, then it could be a couple of different things. So I'd be thinking, I don't know if you've heard of SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That's when bacteria from the large intestine get shoved up into the small intestine and cause a lot of bloating and discomfort and belching.
Okay.
Lastly, I'm thinking it could just be, if she's quite stressed again, is it maybe something like GERD, or is there like a fault with the muscle between the stomach and the food pipe? I would maybe just have a chat with the doctor and just make sure it's not something physical that could be maybe affected. Yeah.
Would you always recommend people see their GP for anything they're not sure of?
Yeah, you have to. You just, you know, you need to rule out any red flags or any, just in case there's something sinister going on. Generally, like, there won't be, but you need to check these things just to be sure.
Sure, absolutely. Right, advice on diet for ulcers, gastritis, and erosive. Oh my God, I don't even know what this word is. Duodenitis? Is that the right? Have I said that right? I've never heard of that.
So she's talking about like inflammation of the stomach lining, and maybe she's having some reflux. I'm not sure, but for any kind of acid problems, have a look at slippery elm, which is a powder.
Okay.
Again, like, so you mix it in water and you drink it, and what it's doing is it's coating the lining of the digestive tract with this lovely mucus barrier, so that when you're then eating very acidic foods or spicy foods, things that might trigger symptoms normally, you're going to be over time less prone to it becoming irritating, because it comes back to protecting that mucus barrier. So slippery elm, or even chia seeds, things that swell and provide a mucus kind of coating, will be very helpful in that situation. Licorice is another one. Licorice tea, marshmallow root tea, all those kind of, I think they're called, I don't know actually how to pronounce the word myself, but it's like a demulcent, I think. Like, and it's all about coating it with that gentle lubricating stuff from those foods.
Okay.
So it is possible to really make a change there.
Okay.
Actually, I have a blog post all about it. I'll share the link afterwards.
Okay, fabulous. Right, hang on. Would that be heartburn and acid reflux? Would that kind of go under the same?
Under the same.
Okay, someone has asked, is there anything that can help you or them become more regular?
Yeah, so I would probably start by swapping things like wheat and bran for a much more gentle fiber. So things like soaking oats overnight, soaking chia seeds overnight. I would use things like mash, so like sweet potato mash or carrot and parsnip mash, things that are very gentle and fibrous, but because they're mashed or blended, they're going to be much easier to digest. And then the wheat will be slowing things down, so you'd want to get that out temporarily, and swapping that for things like oats, flax seeds as well. Actually, have you used those flax seeds?
I have before. I remember my mother going through a flaxseed oil stage, and she kept drizzling it and everything, and I couldn't stand the taste of it. Please don't do that. But I don't mind the seeds. I quite like seeds, like sprinkled on porridge and stuff. So yeah, they are quite good. Can I just ask you, what is the benefit of soaking oats and chia seeds overnight? Because you see quite a lot of overnight oats advertised.
Yeah, like, so for that lady who has a sluggish digestion, because you're soaking them, you're kind of starting to break down a lot of the fiber. So it's just going to become easier to digest. It's also going to absorb a lot more liquid. So that's going to add more bulk to the stool. So like a sponge, and it just helps things pass through that little bit easier.
Right, okay. How much water do you recommend you drink?
Like minimum a litre, 1.2. probably 1.5 liters anyway,
Right.
per day.
Is there?
I'd say you're quite good with water. You've got your water there.
I love water. I drink. Is there too like I probably drink too much water. I used to work for Aer Lingus
No
many
way.
moons ago. Yeah, I used to fly for them. That I don't know if anybody on here knows that, but I used to. And when you're flying, you get so dehydrated. So I was always guzzling water, and I think it's just a pure habit now. I just drink loads and loads and loads. Anyway,
It's a good thing, right?
yeah, absolutely. I get thirsty really easily though now because I think it's just pure habit. Right, hang on, I'm just checking the last questions if I have missed anything else. Well, that was about the gluten and dairy and will I be able to eat my favorite foods, but you think just you kind of covered that, didn't you? Not to, you would cut them out first, rule them out, and then reintroduce them slowly.
Yeah,
right?
while kind of doing other things in the background, the whole kind of repair work.
Okay. Last one. Why do I experience excessive bloating or look pregnant after eating a meal?
That's something I get asked all the time.
Oh, really?
Like so there's a number of different reasons for excessive bloating. And I would probably, again, going back to the common irritants like wheat in particular, I would probably start there and maybe trial wheat-free for probably a month anyway, 3 weeks at least. What else would I do? Again, it's about, are you rushing when you're eating so that you're then just swallowing things too quickly, not chewing them, not breaking them down, and then they're sitting there fermenting, causing lots of gas. Another real common one, actually, which is often underlying IBS, can be the SIBO, the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So one of the main symptoms of that can be excessive bloating. So again, that's something you can test as well. It's a breath test.
Really?
Yeah, you can. So you can do it privately through me, or if you have a referral for a GI consultant, sometimes you can get it through them.
Okay.
So that then when you collect your breath samples, it's measuring different types of gas and the levels of gas because different bacteria produce different gas.
It's amazing.
They can then determine if there's bacteria in the small intestine that shouldn't be there, and if there is and it's causing the bloating, then we'd use antimicrobials, natural antimicrobials to kind of dampen them down, and then you do a lot of gut work and healing as well so that you can get back to normal, basically.
Is wheat one of the worst things? Because you mentioned that quite a lot.
Like it's just like why are we so obsessed with wheat? It's in everything. It's not a food group. It's not essential. We can use so many other foods like brown rice, oats, sweet potato. So I'm not totally against it. I love a good sourdough as much as the next person, but I just wouldn't eat it every single day. And many people are in the habit of having Weetabix followed by sandwiches at lunch, followed by pasta for dinner. It's just, that's way too much wheat.
Okay.
It's about variety. We need variety in the diet. So much better for the gut.
Okay, so for just to finish off, I'm going to ask you this myself. Why is it, like, really quickly, why is it so important to have good gut health?
So that you're better able to, so you have a stronger immune system for starters.
Yeah.
That you're actually absorbing nutrients out of your food, so you're in optimal health.
Yeah.
And just to keep things moving, you need to be pooping daily. That's how we eliminate. If we're holding on to too much waste, you know, we're risking reabsorbing toxins. So
so it is really,
lots of,
I think the immune system thing is going to ring with a lot of people just now, with what's happening in the world.
well, definitely, but even in your line of work, like appearance is everything. And the condition of your skin, the health of your skin is covered in bacteria. And like, that's going to probably be the next big area for, like, you'll start to see more and more probiotic skincare. And it's because there's more research being done on it. So hopefully further down the line, we'll get to a point where we can tailor skincare to manage different skin conditions.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but
Amazing.
the matter of time.
Okay, in Michelle from Denim Studio just asked about apple cider vinegar. We spoke about that earlier, Michelle. Sorry if you missed it, but yes, it is good for getting your stomach ready for the food.
Yeah.
And then you do tell us about the online courses, classes that you're doing just now.
Yeah. So in August, I'm going to be doing anxiety and the gut webinar. If you're interested, drop me a message, and I'll, as soon as I confirm the date, you'll be the first to know.
Okay.
What else has been going on? Aside from that, I'm seeing clients online at the moment. So if you're interested, get in touch.
Yeah.
And I work as well. There's a charity I work for called Rainbow Valley, and we do online courses and retreats for people living with cancer. So if you know somebody who'd be interested in that, you can find out more as well.
Amazing. And I saw on your Instagram today that you're doing something about barbecue, gut healthy barbecue dips.
So that was a few weeks ago.
Was it?
Yeah. The videos are saved in my Facebook group. So I've got a Facebook group called the Gut Health Club. So if anybody's interested in fermenting foods or probiotics or anything to do with the gut, go there. There's lots of videos and guest speakers.
What's it called again?
It's just called the Gut Health Club.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up. Right, Gut Health Club. Right. That sounds amazing, because like, it is something that I know a lot of the girls on here. Bryony's just said she's interested in knowing more about the webinar, learning about and doing it right. I think that's the thing about just getting it right, isn't it? Rather than
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to live with it. If you've just been labeled IBS, like there's so much you can do. So please don't suffer in silence and think you have to be this miserable for the rest of your life. You just need to honestly see a nutritional therapist or some sort of nutrition expert and really get to the bottom of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Sorry, couldn't. Right, so I'm taking away from this, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, probiotics, prebiotics, cutting stuff out if you have any symptoms first slowly, and then speaking to a professional and really doing things right. Going to, instead of buying your probiotics from yogurts and the like from the supermarket, going to the health food shops independent and getting them. See, like chia seeds and things like that, is it okay to buy all that in the supermarket? Are they the same as what you'll get in the health food shop?
The ones in the health food shop would probably be organic. So if you wanted like to spend a little bit more on the organic, you could. But I mean, we're all on a budget these days, so like supermarket's grand. I shop I can admit, to be honest. So
okay, cool. Right, well, that's amazing. Thank you. Have you anything else to say before we finish up?
No, just wanted to say thanks a million, and I loved all the little things you've been doing all week. I got my moisturizer into my cuticles before bed now. I've got my SPF on the go. Yeah, loads of stuff.
That was
brilliant.
I have factor 50 on my face all the time now. I just wish I had started 20 years ago.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, honestly, thinking back, just so like neglect, like the whole sun thing, I just didn't take seriously at all.
Summer work were like just about laying out. Anyway, we know now. Michelle has taught us. But yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time. It's been really interesting.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
I'll speak to you soon.
See you soon, Sarah. See ya. Bye.